Okay, so I left the full explanation today for the video so that I don't have to repeat myself. So basically what we are going to do today is look at the immutability again in JavaScript, or more precisely in Typescript. And we already did this, and we talked all about like how you use object assign and how it arrays. You need to use concat, and the push is mutating the array that you call it on, while the concat actually creates a new one, and that's fine. It works quite well, but the problem is when you get a more complicated data structure, it doesn't seem to work as well as we would hope for. And this is something that first when you start doing Redux, you feel like, yeah, okay, it may propose some problems, but then you're like, yeah, okay, object assign can solve anything, and the magic with arrays as well. And it's true, like, you can solve everything by yourself, obviously, because if we are talking about immutability, it's not so difficult concept, you know. You just, if need be, you create a full clone or of something and just change the things that you need to change. Yeah. So the idea is quite simple, but the problem is when the data becomes either nested, or you have like arrays of objects, and those objects has arrays as well. Basically the combination of things becomes a bit of a problem. So let's start with a simple example, and I'll use JS Fiddle again, because I want you to understand the base concept first. And if you
Sorry to interrupt you. Do you recording this?
yeah.
Okay, I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Okay, no problem. And actually now I think I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it was the button on this, maybe.
Yeah, okay, so it was muted. Okay, but
Okay,
now
great.
we can hear you. Good, so imagine that this is our React solution in Visual Studio. Just for simplicity, we are going to use JS Fiddle, and obviously you need to, like, you know what TypeScript is by now, so this is JavaScript here, so just we don't have to specify any types or anything like that. So let's say we have a state, and you can think of this as the React state, and let's say we will use the example that you've been working on for a while, so that will be the comment application. Yeah. So let's say we have a state where we keep like the name would be something, and for example body of the comment would be something. Yeah. So just for completeness sake, let's say I want the state 2, which should be a clone of state 1, and now if I change the name on state 2, I want it to become something else. If I run this application, obviously what will happen is it will change the name on the state 2, yeah, but as we discussed before, it will change the name on the state 1 as well, which is what we don't want, because what we really want is for this change to be immutable. Yeah. So as I've said, we already discussed that it's quite easy to do this. So you do object assign. First parameter is the source, so you start with an empty object, therefore the reference is pointing at this newly created empty object, and then you say assign this existing state to this empty object. So now if I do this, you'll see that the previous state stays the same, while the new one is changed. So that's great, yeah. But now let's try to make things a little bit more complicated, because what I first want to do is I want to explain the problem that you can see and that you can encounter, and then only we should look at the solutions. Because to tell you like do something this way would be rather short-sighted, because I don't think you will understand it then properly. Yeah? So let's say that now we will have an object on state which will be called comment, and we will have the name and the body inside that object. Yeah. So now what I need to do is I need to reference it by the comment. So basically it becomes a nested structure. So we have an object, JavaScript object called state2, then we have an object inside which will be the comment, and I want to change the name to Veronica. Okay, I use the assign, I started with a new object, I applied all of the things from the state. So now I'm kind of expecting this to work, but you'll see that when I run this, it actually again changed both of these things. Now, this can sound a bit weird at first, but the reason for this is quite simple. So, object assign is basically doing a shallow copy. It's a shallow operation, so it will copy all of the properties of the object one by one, but it will never go inside of those objects. It will just copy them. So if it's a simple type, if it's like a string or a number, it will work, like we've seen before, but if it's an object or an array, it won't work anymore. So that sounds like a bit of a problem, but luckily there is a solution. So what you can do in this case is you just, we might as well apply the state, no harm in doing that. But now if we want to change the comment name into something else, what I would have to do is either specify the comment and then say something like name will be, and change it to something, yeah? So this is like the first kind of obvious solution. But unfortunately what happens now is we will lose the body on the second state, because we have overwritten the whole comment and therefore kind of lost the extra property that was there. So you can think that it might make sense to do something like this, to take the body, take it out of the state, comment body, and this will make it work, yeah? But is this a good thing to do? Probably not, because let's say this comment now has only 2 properties, but it can have 15 or it can have 100 properties. So it wouldn't be very clever to do it this way. So what you can do is, just like your data structure is nested, you can also nest the object assign call. So instead of doing this, what we did here, what we can do is we can call the object assign again, start with an empty object, apply the state.comment, and then just change the name to be something else, yeah? So this is like as human-friendly solution as you can come up with, yeah? Okay, sounds good. But now let's say that we have something like replies here, which will be an array, and the array will carry commands again. So probably something like this, and something like this for easy as well. So now this is when it becomes really complicated, because let's say that you want to change the body of the first reply in the command to something and do it in an immutable way, yeah? So we cloned the whole command, we changed the name, but now we want to change the body of the first reply in the array of replies, yeah? So we would do something like assign another object to it, and you can go something like replies, and then now we need to clone this array, but then we need to change it as well. So we would probably end up with something like array clone, do state dot replies, no, state dot command dot replies slice, which should create a copy. Then you will have to well, this this again creates a copy of an array, but since we keep objects in the array, now if I in this new array changed something, it will change it in the previous one as well. So now I would have to go something like for each do object assign on each of the entries inside that array, and then only I have a full clone of an array. So I think I don't need to continue. You see where I'm going. That this will not only be almost impossible to achieve, just approaching it like this, in a not very clever way, but it will be very hard to maintain as well, and maintainability of the code is quite important factor. Yeah. So no, okay, we just don't do this. For still remember object assign, you will use it definitely. Why use something else when this works? Especially in Typescript where you have like an interface for the state, and then you use set state, and properties of that interface are not optional. You will probably use object assign because it's easy way to sort of get the full state and just change some things in it. But for Redux, when this needs to work properly and when it needs to work fast as well, this is really not the way to go. Yeah? And this is actually a very good example. Comments, especially like comments, can become a very complicated data structure. Yeah? So what we do, we either find a solution and implement it ourselves, or find some library that supports this. And luckily there is a library that is quite good that supports this. So it's from Facebook. So that's the first good sign, because seems like React is Facebook, yeah, and it seems like they've approached similar problems like us and decided to find a way to resolve them. Yeah, and this is the library that they came up with. So basically, the API is quite simple. So you get an object, and then on that object you have different new types that work in an immutable way. Yeah? So let's make this simple again. We don't want this, and we don't want this. So we have just a single command, we have a name, we have a body. I will add ID to this as well, because it will be useful later on. Yeah? Usually things have IDs anyway, so should be easy to understand for you. Yeah, and let's do just the simple thing again. Let's do something like this. Okay, just to make it work. Good. So now we have a situation where we have the command and we can change its name. Yeah. So if we want to use Immutable JS to achieve the same thing, instead of objects, you can use something called immutable.map, and instead of arrays, you can use something called immutable.list or immutable.set. Yeah. In a list, items can repeat themselves, while set is, I believe, something where the items are not repeated, if I remember correctly. This is fairly new for me as well, so you have to be a bit patient. Maybe some of the explanations will need some time to shape properly. So good. So let's do this with Immutable JS now. As I've said, we will do. We have the library reference here already. Yeah? So this is the minified version of the lib. It's some version, maybe it's even old, I don't know, but it works for our example. And instead of creating an object here, what we will do is we will call immutable.map and call it as a function, which is something similar to a constructor, if you will. the map function, if you call it like this, will basically return a new map object, and as I've said, map is something very similar to object in JavaScript. Yeah. So now, using immutable library, instead of this, what we have here, yeah, instead of this, we can just do, I'm going to remove these things here, yeah, and instead of all the object assign, what you can do is you can just call state.comment, and now you call set, which is a method on it, and you say, for example, name will be changed to Veronica. Yeah. So now if I run it, you see that it works. Yeah. And even when you use stuff like, I'm using stringify at the moment just to make it easier to read, yeah, because I don't want it to be an object, so I would have to click and expand all of the properties every time. And you see that it even looks exactly the same like it did before. Yeah? So it's meant like a replacement, or maybe like an extension for objects and array that are in JavaScript. Yeah. So you will have to use a slightly different approach to maybe work with it, but the end result is very similar. Yeah. So instead of doing object assign and all of that, we called set. We set which property we want to change and what is the value that we want to end up with. Yeah. This can be slightly misleading because usually, historically, set and get method has been there to mutate something. Yeah. In C#, if you set a value of something to something, you will mutate the value, you will change the object. While with Immutable JS, set works in a way where you just get a new instance. So exactly what we want. We get a new instance, and that's it. That's how it works. So it's quite simple. Yeah. Immutable JS was meant to work with nested types. Yeah. So now, and this is something where almost definitely I will struggle a bit to get it right. Yeah. So be patient. But now let's say I'll introduce that array we've seen here again, called something like replies. Yeah? So these will be all the commands that serve like a reply to this command. And instead of making it an array like we did before, we will do immutable.list, and like before we will just pass a simple JavaScript syntax to this, and we will need a couple of comments here. Yeah? So let's say we'll have this where the ID will be 2, and we have another one where the ID will be 3. Yeah. Fine. So we have a immutable object, and inside that object we have a immutable list. Okay, and we created a clone of the command like this. Yeah. So now let's see if everything works. Okay, so we have a command and we have replies. Cool. Good. So what I want to do now, let's say we want to change the name of the reply with ID equals to 2, for example. Yeah. So, or actually change the body, that makes more sense. So real example, like if you go to Facebook and you have a couple of comments there, you can modify your comment. Therefore you change it to something else, basically changing the body of an existing comment. Yeah. Good. So let's try to do that now. So let's forget about changing the name on this one. We want to do something else now. And let's say we want the comment to be so the comment has replies, yeah. So I'm going to set replies, okay, and the type will be a list, yeah. So this, the value that I'm going to set this to, will be a list of some sort. But the question is what, yeah. So I'll tidy this up, make it a bit easier to see. So we have comment, we are changing the replies, and we want to change the body of the reply with the ID 2 to be something like comment 2, for example, yeah, and obviously in an immutable way. So what we'll do here is take state.comment.replies like we did before, yeah, and this time we go update, and update is a clever function that you tell which index you want to change and how you want to change it, yeah. So basically the first parameter should be an integer, and the second parameter should be a function that takes an element and updates it somehow, yeah. So let's break this into multiple lines. So first, let's do something simple, and let's say we want to update the first element, and we want to update it so that element will become, remember element here is okay, first problem, these comments here, I want them to be immutable as well, yeah. It's not a big problem, but everything should be immutable if you want to deal with it with this library. So this one and this two, okay. So that's why I was saying that the element is immutable as well. So if I want to change something, I will do it exactly the same way like I did before. So I say element set, and we said that we will change the body to something like comment or edited comment, okay. So now we say that we need a new command, we need to change the command so that it becomes a clone of the initial command, where we change the replies, and the replies are changed so that the first reply becomes changed, where the body is changed to edited comment, yeah. So let's see if this works now. Okay, cannot read update of undefined comment state.comment.replies cannot read update of undefined state replies. Let's not do this just for a sec. Replies, which is an array, so that appears to be fine.
You have state and state 2.
Yeah. Maybe
State
hide.
2.
Yeah, state 2. Yeah.
No, you have, you know.
No, this is fine. I don't care about
Is it
this.
fine?
No, I just wanted to see this, yeah, and that appears to be fine. So now I update. Okay, if you don't know how to do something, take a look at the manual. Immutable JS update list item. How to update? Okay. List. We have a list, and we can call update, and the first is an index, and the second is a function which returns something. So it seems it's correct. Cannot read of undefined. Okay. This. Okay. Thinks this is undefined. So why is that? Maybe the initializer is not correct. Immutable list state.comment.replies. Okay. Okay, so we obviously have the replies here. Okay, yeah. You cannot call. Okay. Stupid mistake. This is immutable now, so you cannot call dot something. You have to call dot replies, dot get replies. Yeah, because this is a map, so we have set and get. Yeah. So instead of this, I need to call get replies. Yeah, and this will actually give me this property. Yeah. Bless you. Good. So let's see if this works. Okay, now it works. Yeah. So just to see it again. So what we did now is we take the comment, copy it, setting the replies to be an updated version of replies from the initial data, and we update the first one to be so that the body is edited comment. Yeah, and that's what we see here. So the first stays untouched, and the second is correctly edited comment. Yeah. So that's what we've been after, and just as a bit of an update or like an extension of this solution, this here we said we only want to update the first one, but obviously since I've implemented the IDs here, I would probably, in a real application, I would probably want to update something where the ID is something. Yeah. So the way to do that is you will go in the replies, index of, yeah, and this is a method that returns an index of something that is true. So we'll say like element dot element get ID, and this is something to get used to again. So when the element ID is 2, we will want to edit we will want to change the body so that it says edited comment. Yeah. So it worked. Okay, and now if I do ID 3, it will change the first one. Yeah. It will change this one. And before, did it work? Get ID. So first we output that edit ID. So it index of. So where the replies and index of. Let's take a look at this again. Find index. Find index. Find index. Now it works. Yeah. So you'll see here we changed the comment with ID 2, and if I change this to 3, we will change the comment with ID 3. Yeah. So this way, the syntax is much simpler, you know. It just takes care of creating the clones of the nested arrays for you, yeah, or not even arrays but objects or arrays, yeah. Plus this is very fast, especially compared to stuff like object assign, for example. The way they do it is they will only copy the things that you are changing, basically, yeah. So it's very clever what they do. I'll show you just out of curiosity. So every nested structure can be represented as some sort of graph, yeah. So you have like one object, then you have another object or an array, and you have another one, okay, and maybe another one here, yeah. And now normally, if you do object assign and you just want to clone everything, you will just take this, yeah, clone it, and then maybe change one of these things to be like something else, yeah. But what they do in Immutable JS is, let's say you want to change this, okay, this one. So they will create a clone of this and this as well, because this changed, yeah, and this one, the first one. But actually this will point to the same thing. This will point to the same thing, and this will point to the new one, yeah. So this way, instead of creating like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 new things, you only have to create 3 of them, yeah, these 3. That's just like something to think about, like an inspiration, that it's much better, and even on the performance side it's much smarter to use a library like this. And while at first I said it's you have 2 options, like you can either implement it yourself or you can find the library. So it turns out that especially with stuff like this, it would be very complicated to implement this, and especially for us, since we are a small team and we just want something to work, because to make this work properly and to only pay penalization, I think this is maybe 3 times slower than if you mutate things in JavaScript, yeah. So it's quite good, because probably object assign is like, maybe if you clone the whole thing all the time, not only will consume much more memory, but it will actually take maybe 30 times as much, yeah. So the library is done very well. I haven't used it as much to be able to give you amazing examples, like this is as much as I can do at the moment. It's not hard. You encounter a problem of some sort and you find a solution for it. You go to their website. The documentation is, there's quite good amount of things here, but I feel like it's maybe slightly, there's not so many examples here, so we'll probably end up looking at maybe Stack Overflow or something. Yeah, if I go like, for example, collection, here I have get, but there is nothing here really that shows you how the syntax works exactly. So you have the types and everything, it's all documented, and it explains like true if a key exists within iterable using Immutable JS. But maybe if you want to do something very fancy, you might need to look at some questions somewhere. But other than that, that's it. You know, you have all these functions here which you can use to. You can. One thing that I think is quite good is you can actually. Okay, take a look at this. This will be the last one I'll do. So I'll remove all of this immutable stuff from here, yeah. Okay, so now we have a plain JavaScript object, which you all understand and you don't have any problems with it. and the immutable library offers something that is called toImmutable and toJS, I think. Maybe it's here. It was actually here. From JS. That's the name. From JS. Immutable dot from JS. Yeah, and into that you can send the state, and what this will do is it will automatically turn everything into immutable types. So objects become maps, arrays become probably lists. Yeah, so therefore you can even take your existing structure or your existing code and you can quite easily turn it into immutable, and then you can even do to.js, which will turn it back to simple JavaScript objects. So, like, theoretically, you can even make it work when you just, every time something happens, you convert it to immutable, do your things, do your changes, and then you convert it back to mutable. But obviously I don't recommend this, because if we want to use this, we should use it properly, and therefore everything should be mutable, yeah, or immutable, sorry. And couple of things to keep an eye on. So first of all, we need to include this library, and we need the types for it as well, yeah. And then when you are doing something with it, let's say in the counter, let's say the count, I don't want it to be, or let's add a new one. Let's say that we want to add the comment here like we did before, and you go import star as immutable from immutable, I think. Okay, that's it. And then you can do immutable dot, and since now this is TypeScript, we are in Visual Studio, so if I want this to be a list, I need to specify the generic parameter of which type will the list be, so for example number, yeah. So this is how you specify the types. Now if I want it to be a map, this is quite cool. Maps not only work as a replacement for dictionary, but in dictionary the keys can only be a string, while here, let's say that this is a map of string and number, for example, yeah. So the key will be a string and the value will be a number, but you can also do something like the key can be, for example, a number, yeah, which this is not very easy to do in JavaScript. Out of the box is actually, I think, impossible, if I'm not mistaken, yeah? So maps can take keys that are, you can even take object to be a key, or you can even take array. I can't think of an example where you would need an array to be a key, but object, that can happen quite a lot, yeah. And same way, like always with TypeScript, you can actually sort of explore the new fancy library, so the things you have here, yeah. Like I said, we have list, map, we have set, which is here, yeah, and we have also ordered map and ordered set, which is something that I think you can just order it somehow. You have certain methods on it that I don't know. I don't want to lie. Yeah, we'll need to check documentation on this properly. But as I've said, it's not very big and it's quite powerful. So if you want you can now try to sort of implement this in your examples and play with it and see how it works and what it actually allows you to do, because like I already so first it was Veronica who had a problem with this, because she had a dictionary, and in TypeScript you can do a dictionary, yeah, you can do something like a key, I think like this, and the value, do you remember how we did it? I don't know, because TypeScript dictionary. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's something like this. Maybe. I think it should be something like this. Or is it? Okay, I think it's like this. I think it was something like this. So this way you can basically like say that this is some sort of dictionary in TypeScript, and this is what Veronica had. But as it turns out later on, just like I showed you with that example with comments, it snowballs very quickly, and you realize that very soon you will come up with a situation where it's very difficult to, in your reducer, to basically create a new state which is immutable and do it properly. Yeah. So with this library, with Immutable JS, much simpler. Yeah. So that's it. I think it's not very complicated. It's just something new. You know. Basically, if the things that you are doing now doesn't work, and you think it's because of immutability, that's just a hint for you that you will have to use this library. Yeah. Okay. Do we have any questions right away, or do you need some time to let it cook in your heads for a while?
Second option, I think.
Second option.
Same.
It's the same for everybody, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
It's not very hard to use it, so we just need to practice it and try it. That's all.
yeah, it really is, and it's quite straightforward. You know, instead of doing something like let's say we have that command again, and for example this will be immutable map of string and number, probably something like the usual dictionary where you just have a key, string, and the value will be a number. And then in the initial state you just do, instead of basically this, what you would do normally, you will do immutable dot map string value string number, and like this. Yeah.
I think you need to put there the initial state as well, like this.
Yeah, this is actually complaining. This is okay. I think if you want an empty one you can do it, but let's do object assign here.
I think you need to create empty one maybe.
State. Okay, so now this works, and let's check if... Yeah, okay, this works as well. So basically this is an equivalent, yeah? So if you take a look at this, hover over this, it says create a new immutable map, yeah? And the initializer is... You see there is a var new map, and then you have the initializer, how it works, yeah? So you can either provide an empty one, or you don't have to provide anything, or you can say something like key and value should be a number. So this should happen. Yeah, okay, this works. Yeah. And then when you go inside the reducer or basically anywhere, you can access this, go to command, and now you have all of these functions that you can take advantage of. Yeah? So one of them is, for example, get. Yeah? So this is what we've been using before. So when I get the key, I will get the value 8 in this case. Yeah. So theoretically. Okay. So that's how it works, and this is in TypeScript. Yeah? So it's quite convenient to do it in JS Fiddle, and I hope by now it should be easy for you to just transfer that knowledge and take it to TypeScript. The only difference is you need to specify the types, and the types you specify them like a generic parameter. So in this way, yeah. If it was a list, there would be one set, again I think one. Okay, so we'll have some time to practice this, and since this is probably the last major thing that we needed to look into and to understand properly, I have a feeling that on Tuesday finally we should be able to start working on the project. Yeah. So you have, today it's Wednesday, so you have basically 3 days, all of you. So Veronica, you have Saturday with me, and then the guys have Monday. Yeah. So 3 days for working on your examples, for asking as many questions as possible, trying different things, discussing with me or with each other. Obviously, when we start working on the project, nothing will change really, so if you have a problem, we'll still discuss it as usual. But yeah, we'll start properly on Tuesday then. Okay?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, cool. We'll speak later, everybody.
Speak later. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Bye. Cheers.
Bye. Bye.